Hello. I know we are all very much looking forward to a time when we can gather safely again. And I'm optimistic that time is coming soon. But for now, I'm excited to be here virtually in Seattle, Washington, with our audiences around the globe. Around the world, we've all experienced rapid change and new challenges this past year. When faced with unprecedented disruption and challenges, it's critical that your business has the flexibility to adjust quickly. For example, over the last year, our customers like Zoom and Netflix were able to quickly adapt to unprecedented global demand changes. An important part of helping customers to respond to these uncertain times was the elasticity of our services. Customers have asked us how we responded to the pandemic and to make sure that our customers could scale and respond to changes in their business. Like everyone, we had to adjust to lots of challenges on the fly. But the elasticity of AWS services is something that we have been building since day one. In fact, it goes all the way back to our original EC2 tenants. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is a tenant? Well, let me explain. A tenant is simply a principle or a belief. Tenants don't tell you what to do. They provide a guide to follow and give you the freedom to make the best choices for your customers. If you've ever found yourself in an endless series of meetings going around and around on a decision, it's probably a good sign that you did not have a shared set of tenets. Too often, people argue about path A or path B, going back and forth, and they don't realize the reason they're arguing is that they are not in alignment on the very fundamental assumptions that are driving their decision. Writing down your tenets is really valuable to get everyone in agreement on critical questions. When you have your tenets in hand, you don't need to rehash or debate your direction with every decision in every meeting. Now, when we launched Amazon EC2 back in 2006, we spent some time debating our tenets for the service. What were the most important things we needed to make EC2 a success? Getting aligned on these tenets would make it easier for us to subsequently make decisions on prioritization of specific roadmap items. I pulled out one of our early EC2 documents and had a look at our original tenets, and you can see them listed here. Now, these are punchy one-word summary of the tenets. Each tenet was actually laid out in a fair bit of detail, but for our purposes here, these one-word summaries will work. As you can see, the first two tenets are secure and reliable. Now, if you've spent any time with us, this should not come as a surprise. Everything for us starts with security. It's job one and the most important product tenet. And other than security, nothing is more important than the availability of our services. We had conviction on this since day one. It's why availability zones was one of the first features we launched. The other four tenets are around important product attributes. Elastic is an interesting one. It's pretty high on the list. And maybe that doesn't surprise you, because it is super important that customers are able to scale when they need to. After all, we thought it was pretty important. We named the service the Elastic Compute Cloud. Today, we think of elasticity as just another dimension of availability. It remains that important. And our focus on elasticity is a big part on why we were able to help so many customers respond to the sudden and unexpected changes in their business over the last year. You also see cost-effective up there. We knew that no matter how compelling our service, that price was one of the most important features to our customers. And that's why we've reduced prices 106 times since AWS was launched in 2006. And we relentlessly focus on lowering the cost of our infrastructure so that we have the cost structure to allow us to continue lowering prices. And of course, you see easy to use. The cloud's a new concept, and we knew that making it easy for users to get started and grow with the services would be fundamental to getting the adoption we want. The tenet that I really want to talk to you about today is flexible. At Amazon, even before we launched AWS, we had a very deeply held belief that telling developers that they must use a particular tool was a great way to slow them down and stifle innovation. Before I started working on EC2, I ran an engineering team that was responsible for many of our core Amazon technologies. Things like the software used to run our websites or the libraries used by our services to communicate with one another. And we supported multiple ways of doing each of these things. And even then, some team across the company was likely experimenting with something new. We didn't try to slow this down. Rather, it was encouraged. Not only did this approach lead to innovation, it made Amazon a better place for builders to build. Developers really want to have the flexibility to choose the tools that work best for their applications. And the AWS Cloud gives you the flexibility to build the way you want to meet the changing needs of your products and your customers. Today, we want to show you how this strongly held tenet that flexibility really matters has influenced what we've built. Now, this slide does a good job of showing our commitment to giving AWS customers the flexibility they need to invent. Whether you're talking about compute or storage or database or machine learning or developer tools or IoT, in every one of these categories, you get a lot more functionality and options with AWS than anywhere else. Today, we're going to cover how compute options give you the right tools for the jobs. But we're also going to look at how storage, analytics, machine learning services give you flexible options to get the most value out of your data. And we'll also look at how our hybrid solutions give you the flexibility to run your workloads wherever you need to. Let's start off by looking at compute. Compute's changed quite a bit since we launched EC2 15 years ago with a single instance type. Today, there are 3 major modes of compute, and a lot of options within each one of these modes. EC2 instances are the traditional way that people use compute on AWS. They remain a great option for many applications, particularly when workloads need all the resources of the server or require always-on computing or specialized compute capabilities. Containers provide smaller, more easily managed units of compute. They're great for building microservices. And event-based serverless computing provides another option when you don't want to or need to manage instances or containers at all. We believe that all 3 of these modes of compute are here to stay, and each is well-suited to certain types of tasks and applications. And taken together, they give you the flexibility to choose the right tool for the job. But it's more than just supporting each of these modes. To truly give customers flexibility, you need to support the most options within each of these areas. Let's look at instances. If you look at Amazon EC2, which provides computing capacity to support virtually any workload, we not only have the broadest array of instances, but we also have the most powerful instance capabilities. These are things like the fastest networking instances. We have 100 gigabits per second in most of our recent instances, and up to 400 gigabits per second in our P4DS instances. We have the largest high memory instances with up to 24 terabytes, which are great for SAP workloads. We have the largest local storage instances with our D3EN instances, providing up to 336 terabytes of local storage. We have the most powerful machine learning training instances with our P4DS instance types. And we have the most powerful machine learning inference instances with our inferentia-based Inf1 instances. We have the best price performance graphics instances with our G4ADs. We support any operating system you want, including several variants of Linux and Windows. And we're the only cloud provider to give you an on-demand Mac OS instance type. And if we don't support the operating system you need, we're the only cloud that allows you to run any operating system on bare metal with all the capabilities and elasticity you expect from an instance. We're also the only provider that gives you the ability to run instances with Intel, AMD, and ARM processors. Now, that's a lot of flexibility to match your instance to your application needs. It's one thing to have a tenant that says you need to be flexible, but that's not enough. If you want to be able to deliver this sort of flexibility, you need to innovate. Let's look at 2 of the biggest innovations that are enabling flexibility for compute. The first innovation is how we build our instances. The way we did this when we launched EC2, and the way that most cloud providers still do this today, is with software virtualization. Virtualization uses software running on the main server to create an abstraction layer that allows the hardware of the server, the processor, the memory, the storage, to be secured and to be divided up into multiple virtual instances. The problem with this approach is that software virtualization technologies are complex. And because this software needs to be optimized for every server type in your fleet, it slows down your ability to support new instance types. Virtualization is also inefficient. It can consume 10 to 30% of the server resources just to run the virtualization layer. And because it uses the same resources as the customer instances, this means that software virtualized instances always have lower performance than bare metal servers. Because of these problems, we reinvented how we build EC2 instances with something we call Nitro. What we did with Nitro was to move all this virtualization functionality off the main server and onto its own specialized Nitro chip. This completely removes the virtualization overhead and means that we can devote all the server resources to the customer's EC2 instances, which increases performance and reduces cost. And because all of this work is done on specialized Nitro chips, the cost of supporting new instance variants is significantly reduced. Nitro is the reason that we've been able to launch new instances so quickly. Instead of every 2 to 3 years, where you used to wait to get new instance types, you now get innovative, brand new, change the game type of instances every few months. We launched the first EC2 Mac-based instance a few months ago. And I think it really helps illustrate how Nitro has allowed us to innovate more quickly. Let's have a look. What you can see here is that the EC2 Mac instance is actually a rack-mounted Mac Mini. We did not make any changes to the Mac hardware. Instead, we simply connected a Nitro controller via the Mac's Thunderbolt connector. That's it. Now when you launch a Mac instance, your Mac-compatible OMBI runs directly on the Mac Mini. No hypervisor. The Nitro controller sets up the instance and provides secure access to the EC2 network and any storage you'd attach to the instance. And that Mac Mini, it can now natively use any AWS service. It has low latency, high throughput access to services like Amazon S3 or Amazon Aurora, all the great stuff that comes with being an EC2 instance. And because all of this happens outside of the Mac Mini, you get the resources of the Mac dedicated to your workload, just like if it was running on your desktop. Hopefully, you can see why Nitro has had such a game-changing impact for us in providing unparalleled flexibility into EC2 customers. And Nitro leads us to our second big innovation that I want to talk about. And that's our investment in AWS custom silicon, or chips. I mentioned that with Nitro, we moved from software virtualization to using custom Nitro chips. And here, you can see that we're on our 4th generation of Nitro chip. Each generation has allowed us to improve performance and add new EC2 features. And Nitro allows us to support the broadest range of instance platforms, including Intel, AMD, ARM, and NVIDIA computing options. And this allows you to select the best processor for your workload. And we're excited to continue to support all the innovative processors that these companies are putting out, but we also saw an opportunity to innovate on our own AWS custom processors to give our customers even more flexibility. These chips, which we call Graviton, Inferentia, and Trainium, are specially designed to help AWS customers improve performance and lower cost on their most demanding workloads. Let's have a look at how these 3 new chips are giving you even more flexibility. We launched our 2nd generation Graviton 2 chip last year. Graviton 2 is an ARM-based general-purpose processor that can be used to run almost any of your workloads. And it has specifically been designed for scale-out computing workloads, which dominate most modern architectures. For many applications, Graviton 2 will provide the highest absolute performance of any EC2 instance. And depending on your workload, Graviton can deliver 40% better price performance over comparable current generation x86-based instances. But don't just take my word for it. Our customers like Snap, Lyft, Nextroll, and SmugMug have all stated that adopting Graviton 2-based instances was quite easy, and they were able to do so in just a few days. What's really exciting is seeing the success these customers are having once they've moved their workloads to Graviton 2. Lyft is seeing 30% better price performance. Nextroll is getting 50% better cost savings, and SmugMug is seeing a 40% price performance improvement. Having another processor to choose from is great, but to make optimal use of it, you need an instance that fits your workload. And we have that covered as well. Graviton 2 processors power Amazon EC2 M6G, T4G, C6G, R6G, and X2GD instances. The latest addition to the Graviton portfolio is the X2GD instances, which provide up to 55% better performance compared to the previous generation X1 instance. This broad instance selection means that there's an optimized Graviton 2 instance for most workloads, whether you need to run microservices, high-performance computing, CPU-based machine learning inference, electronic design automation, gaming, open-source databases, in-memory caches, you name it. Oh, and the T4G instances are available with a free trial until June 30th. So there's really never been a better time to try Graviton 2. Okay. The other big area of AWS chip investment is machine learning. In 2019, we released our first machine learning chip, AWS Inferentia. We targeted inference because for most at-scale workloads, the cost of inference represents the vast majority of the machine learning cost. And for a successful application like Amazon Alexa, this can be a lot of inference. Inferentia provides the highest throughput option for running inference on AWS. And on a price performance basis, which matters a lot, they're almost half the cost per inference when compared to GPUs. And the best news is how little work it is to try Inferentia with your machine learning workload. Our AWS Neuron software development kit allows machine learning developers to use Inferentia as a target for popular frameworks, including TensorFlow, PyTorch, and MXNet. With Neuron, they can take advantage of the cost savings and performance of Inferentia with little or no change to their code. The other major component of machine learning is training models. And as I mentioned earlier, AWS already has the most powerful training platform in the cloud with our P4 instances. But customers have understandably asked us to bring the same benefits we brought to inference to their training workloads. To improve training, we're building another custom machine learning chip that we call Trainium. Like Graviton and Inferentia, we're optimizing it to run in the AWS cloud and expect it to offer significant price performance advantages over other options. Our Trainium-based instances will also provide the best absolute performance for your most demanding training workloads. Like Inferentia, we use Neuron to allow customers to easily make use of Trainium from all the popular machine learning frameworks. Okay, hopefully you have a better sense of how our belief in driving flexibility is driving us to innovate. Of course, what really excites us most is seeing how this flexibility enables our customers to invent and deliver amazing results. And now, let's hear from one of our customers about why flexibility and scale and compute is important to them.
皆様はじめまして、株式会社プレイドの倉橋と申します。本日ですね、AWS 活用による事業と組織のアジリティ強化というテーマでお話しさせていただきます。早速我々プレイドについてのご紹介ですが、2011年10月に創業いたしました。何か世の中に対してですね、正しく大きな変化、進化を遂げる、そういった大きなインパクトを直接ですね生み出してみたい、こういった思いから創業してまいったわけです。最初の数年間はですね、プロダクトの開発および初期検証を続けてまいりました。2015年3月にですね CX プラットフォームカルテを提供開始いたしまして、今では本当に多くのお客様にお使いいただいております。従業員200名程度でですね、約半数がプロダクトに直接関わるですねエンジニアやデザイナーで構成されているそんな会社です。昨年12月にですね東証マザーズに IPO いたしました。で我々が提供しているメインの事業プロダクトですが、カルテというクラウドのソフトウェアをですね提供しております。簡単に申しますと、ウェブサイトやアプリにですね今来ているユーザー一人一人をリアルタイムに計測し、 管理画面上でですね可視化していく、そしてそのユーザー、そのタイミングに応じたですねさまざまなアクションをワンストップで実現できる、そういったプロダクトになっております。ロゴや管理画面からも感じていただけるようにですね、我々はこのデータから数字を可視化するプロダクトではなくて、データからユーザーを可視化し、企業がユーザーに対してしっかりと価値を届けていく、そういった世界観を実現したくてこのようなプロダクトを作ってきております。インターネットの特性としてですね、本来人と価値、人と人、そういったものを近づける、距離という概念をですね取り払う、そういった特性があるかと思いますが、一方でデジタルはですね全てを計測し数値化することも非常に得意です。今のインターネットを活用したビジネスにおいては、こういった数値が先行してですね人という主語が徐々に失われつつある、そういったふうに感じております。これは世界中のサービスにですねもうアクセスできることが可能な環境の現代においては、価値の方はこれはもう加速的に進んでおりますし、そんな中で選ばれる価値になるためにはどうすればいいのか、その答えヒントはですね人にあるのではないかなと思っているわけです。で我々はですね大義としては数値への仕事から人への仕事に戻すということをそういう思いを強く持ちながらですね事業を進めてきましたし、こういったですね側面が DX の本質であるべきではないかなというふうに感じております。リリースから6年少し経ちまして非常にさまざまな企業様にお使いいただいております。初期データからマーケティングユース非常に多かったわけなんですが、今ではカスタマーサポートやカスタマーサクセスでの利用もですね非常に広がってきております。そしてですね、昨今このデータ活用のより高度かつ柔軟な環境の要求、企業様からの要求もですね加速してきております。我々カルテデータハブというデータマネジメントのプラットフォーム、これ開発し提供しております。オンライン上のリアルタイムなダイナミックなデータに加えてですね企業様がこれまで蓄積されてきた大規模なデータ、これをマージしさまざまな用途に対してですね活用を可能にしていく、そういったプロダクトもご提供している状況です。で、こういったプロダクトを提供する背景でですね、どのようなことが起きてきているのか、これ我々の体感も含めてですねお話ししたいと思います。今回のイベントの一つのテーマでもありますが、より不確実不透明な時代が始まり、変化がですねとにかく高速化してきている、そういった時代感なのかなと思っております。消費者環境は日進月歩でですねどんどん刷新されていく一方で、企業や仕事環境、これはですね変化に対してアジャストを常に続ける必要がある、すなわち仕事はどんどん増えてきてしまっているわけなんですね。こういった背景からもですね仕事をいかに必要なものを選択し、苦手なもの不要なものを外して任せていくのか、こういった取捨は問われる時代なのかなと考えております。ですのでこういう時代のですねキーワードとしてはアジリティということが上がるのではないでしょうか。技術環境、仕事内容、組織、マインド、こういったところの溜まってきた負債をですねいかにクリーンに、クリアにしてですね次の時代にスピーディーに進んでいけるのか、非常に重要だと考えております。で実際我々カルテがですね提供しているプロダクト、カルテが提供している価値に関しても例えばワンストップ性とかですねノーコードローコード簡単に何かを実現できる環境、そしてリアルタイムに全てを処理できる環境、こういったものをご提供することで企業様サービスのアジリティを高めていくサポートをさせていただいております。でせっかくなので我々自身がですねこういったプロダクトを提供する中で社内で非常に重要にしていることについてもご紹介できればいいかなと思っております。例えば3つ挙げております。バックキャスティング、デプロイドリブン、アンラーニングございます。この中でもですねこのデプロイドリブンという部分が先ほどお話ししたアジリティと非常に近いつながるお話かなと考えております。さまざまなサービス支援のプロダクト等もですね増えてくる中で世の中的に今何かを試すコストというのは極めてゼロに近いレベルまでですね下がってきていると感じています。不確実、不透明な時代だからこそですね入念なプランを持って成功確率を高く何かアクションするというよりはですねとにかく早く試してみて早く失敗してそこから試行回数を増やしながらですね目的とする地点までの到達スピードを速めていく、 こういった活動が一つキーになってくると考えています。では我々自身ですね、このアジリティに通じて、デプロイドリブン、こういった環境をですね、作っていくために、どのようなことをやってきたか、それも少し簡単にお話ししたいと思います。まずはやはり、企業事業がどこに向かうのか、ミッションやですね、そしてその中での、各チーム組織に対しての裁量等を含む異常、環境構築、こういったことが非常に重要です。一方で日々の業務環境、例えば最近ですとコミュニケーションではスラックやコラボレーションツールではミロ、ビデオ会議なんかですね、Amazon さんのチャイムや Zoom、いろいろな SaaS プロダクトが出ております。こういったものを通じてですね、仕事環境をしっかりと構築していくこと、そしてその上で自社がですねやるべきことをしっかりと絞って、学習サイクルを早めていく、すなわちフォーカスすること、そしてフォーカスの結果小さな成功体験を早く得て、それを文化として定着させていくこと、このあたりは非常に我々が日々意識的に取り組んでいることでもございます。人材競争においてですね、環境の優位性、これをどう作るのか、これは経営の大きなミッションの一つだろうと考えているということです。例えば、我々プロダクトでもですね、いろいろなチャレンジをしております。カルテが得意なこと、冒頭お話しした通りですね、リアルタイムに顧客を捉えてサイト上やアプリ上でタイミングよく働きかけることです。ただ一方でお客様からの要望はですね、日々日々増してまいります。より多面的に深く顧客分析をしたいとかですね、サイトやアプリの外でもコミュニケーションをしたい、こういった時に自前でやるのか、それとも連携してやるのか、一つの意思決定のポイントです。我々このケースの場合はですね、Amazon イベントブリッジや S3、こういったものとしっかりと連携させていただくことで、より多面的なユーザー理解や多様なアクションを実現しているということでございます。例えばサイト上での動きに応じたプロアクティブなユーザーサポートであったりだとか、ユーザーの状況に応じてですね、自動的にデータを分析し、状況に応じたレコメンドを実施するとか、さまざまなより高度な活用の仕方、これらが簡単に実現できるということです。連携をしていくことで我々自身やるべきことをですねフォーカスし、より早い学習サイクルを回し、スタートアップにとって最も重要な戦略である選択と集中を実現しているということでございます。くくりでございますが、アジリティある組織や環境の構築には AWS やカルテなどのですねサービス、こういったものを活用することは非常に有効だと考えています。ますます世の中の変化が早まり高度化していく中で、まず我々そして AWS、Amazon さんとともにですね行動を変えていく、それにより社内組織の考え方を変えていく、そういったトライをですね共にできれば幸いです。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
Such amazing progress and important work. We talked about how we are innovating to give you the most flexibility in your instances. Now, let's look at innovations in computing. Let's start with containers. Developers really love containers. Containers allow you to use smaller, more portable units of compute. And because containers further simplify the computing infrastructure, they allow you to build things even faster. If you look at the growth of containers in computing, it's astounding. 80% of cloud-hosted containers run on AWS. And that's because while most other providers have one container offering, typically managed Kubernetes, AWS gives you the flexibility of 3 separate container options. There are thousands of organizations that already have experience running containers at scale with Kubernetes. For these customers, we have EKS. EKS is great because it lets you focus on your services and container needs, not on running, managing, and patching of Kubernetes itself. It allows engineers who are already familiar with the Kubernetes ecosystem to get up and running quickly on AWS. AWS has been natively supporting container development since 2014, when we launched ECS, or the Amazon Elastic Container Service. ECS is our AWS-inspired way of managing containers. ECS focuses on simplicity and ease of use, allowing you to manage your containers using APIs in the same way you manage your other AWS resources. ECS has deep integration with a broad set of AWS services. Our customers tell us they love the flexibility of these two container services, ECS and EKS. But many of these customers have told us they would prefer not to have to worry about servers or clusters at all. They would prefer to manage containers at the task level. And that's why we built AWS Fargate. AWS Fargate empowers you to run containers without having to manage servers or clusters at all. Fargate is really simple to use. You specify the CPU and memory you need, you define the network and the identity requirements, and then you upload everything to Fargate. And from there, Fargate deploys your application tasks for you. It automatically scales up and down. It deploys across multiple availability zones for high availability. Managing containers at the task level is simpler than running them at the server level. And we're seeing that the vast majority of new container customers on AWS are starting with Fargate. Today, all three of our container offerings continue to grow unbelievably fast. And we actually have a lot of customers who use 2 or even 3 of these container offerings, because different teams have different preferences and different use cases, and they want the right tool for the job. Containers are popular because they remove even more of the complexity of running your own infrastructure. But several years ago, we asked ourselves if we could simplify things even further. And that's why we built Lambda. Lambda enables event-driven serverless computing, which allows you to write applications without managing servers or containers at all. Instead, you identify the events that you're interested in, and you use AWS Lambda to respond to these events with something called functions. Functions are the code that you write to do useful work. And when an event occurs, Lambda spins up the necessary compute to run your function and shuts it back down when your function is done. And this is all done in a fault-tolerant way with no work from you. And with Lambda, you're only charged for the time that your functions are running. For a very large number of applications, event-driven serverless computing using Lambda is the best tool. If you look at the new applications that we built inside of Amazon in 2020, half of them are using Lambda as their compute engine. With event-based serverless computing, flexibility matters as well. First, you need the flexibility to run any function you want. And with Lambda, functions can be as small or as large as you need, up to 10 gigabytes with 6 cores running for a full 15 minutes. But functions are built at the millisecond granularity. And to really make Lambda the go-to tool in your toolbox, we need to support the broadest and most flexible way to create events. And that's exactly what we're doing. When we first launched Lambda back in 2014, we integrated it with services like Amazon S3 and DynamoDB to trigger jobs when data changed. And this made it very useful for processing data. But customers told us they wanted to do so much more. Today, Lambda is integrated with 140 different AWS services and events. These are purpose-built services, and there are a set of purpose-built services to help you build all kinds of serverless applications. For example, API Gateway allows you to publish and manage your APIs to make it easy to build serverless web apps. And Event Bridge and Step Functions allow you to create sophisticated serverless applications without spending time on the undifferentiated glue code and workflow management. All of this without having to manage any underlying infrastructure. Now you can completely focus on your application and your code and leave the heavy lifting of everything else to AWS. Hopefully, you can see how our incredible pace of innovation is giving you unprecedented flexibility with compute. But you need this flexibility with more than just compute. Here at AWS, we've focused on giving you this type of flexibility in many areas. For example, moving your data to the cloud will give you the flexibility to unlock the power of your information with analytics and machine learning. To tell you more, I'd like to welcome to the stage Dorothy Lee, Vice President, AWS Business Intelligence and Analytics.
Thank you, Peter. Over the years here at Amazon, I've had a passion for building products and services that are simple, flexible, and delightful to use, such as Amazon Kindle and Prime. As Vice President of Business Intelligence and Analytics, I'm now focused on helping our customers get more value from their data. I feel confident in saying that right now, flexibility has never been more important than when it comes to getting better value from your data. Choice matters for all the services we discussed today, but it really matters for your data. A good data strategy is critical to enabling you to take advantage of technologies like analytics and machine learning. We're all generating more data than ever. In every hour today, we're creating more data than what we did in an entire year 20 years ago. And in the next 3 years, there will be more data created than the prior 30 years combined. We're increasingly viewing data, analytics, and machine learning as strategic to our business. Between user-generated content, log files, transactions, and IoT data, you're probably gathering a lot more data than you used to. This is why it is so important to have a platform that has the flexibility to manage this wide variety of information and helps you become a data-driven organization. Let me share an example from a few years ago when I was working on Amazon Kindle. We were looking for ways to improve customer engagement with our mobile applications. One of the ideas the team had was to give away free books to customers when they signed up for the app. Now, this is a scary idea. Our Kindle apps are already free, so the only time we make money is when people actually buy books from the store. But because we are a data-driven company that values experimentation, we decided to try it out and see what the data told us. Happily, what we found ended up confirming our hypothesis. Those customers who were offered free books became our most engaged Kindle readers, while the cohort that was presented with only samples were less likely to engage with Kindle over time. And because we made this data available across Amazon, teams like Amazon Prime were able to use it when building a much larger offering with free books, now being available to everyone with a Prime subscription. This is why data-driven organizations consider data to be a cross-organizational asset. There is so much business value that can be unlocked by setting up processes to collect and share data rather than keeping it in silos or treating it as the property of individual departments. For example, your customer service database can be combined with your order database to better understand operational issues. But for this data to have value, it has to be democratized, meaning that it's properly classified and securely made available to anyone who needs to use it. Lastly, to be a data-driven organization, you need to put your data to work through analytics and machine learning. Analysis through modern data tools is the best way to make decisions, create efficiencies, and drive new innovations for your customers. This is why Amazon, along with many of our most successful customers, are embracing a data-driven culture as a competitive advantage. Now, I think there are 3 key phases that you should look at when making the journey to becoming more data-driven. Some of you may already be well down the path, while others may not even know where to start. But there's value to be captured at each phase. The first step is to migrate off of on-premises databases and storage solutions and onto a modern cloud data infrastructure. Once you've migrated, the second phase is liberating the data by breaking down data silos and make data more accessible to anyone who needs it. And the third is to harness the power of that data using AI and machine learning. Let's start with how you can modernize your data infrastructure and migrate to more flexible, purpose-built data stores. For those of you running legacy data infrastructure on-prem or self-managed in the cloud, you know the management of this infrastructure is tedious, time-consuming, and expensive. This legacy data structure requires a lot of undifferentiated heavy lifting. You worry about hardware and software installation and configuration, performance and availability, scalability issues such as capacity planning and cluster scaling, and security and compliance issues. And many of the on-prem databases live with old-guard commercial-grade database providers like Oracle and Microsoft with SQL Server. And these are expensive, proprietary, have large, high amounts of lock-in and punitive licensing terms. Because of this, many builders are trying to migrate as fast as they can to open-source databases. However, getting the same performance on open-source databases as you can get on commercial-grade databases can be difficult. The most straightforward and simple solution for many customers who are struggling to maintain their own relational databases at scale is a move to a managed database service, like Amazon RDS or Amazon Aurora. Amazon Aurora is a MySQL and PostgreSQL compatible relational database built for the cloud that combines the performance and availability of high-end commercial databases with the simplicity and cost-effectiveness of open-source databases. Aurora is up to 5 times faster than standard MySQL databases and 3 times the throughput of standard PostgreSQL, with the security, availability, and reliability of commercial-grade databases at 1/10 the cost. So Aurora is hugely popular. But in a world where you're now dealing with petabytes and sometimes exabytes of data, a relational database doesn't always make sense. Relational databases have been around for so long that most developers are comfortable with them. But using relational databases for tasks they're not well suited for can be expensive, add unnecessary overhead, and underperform for some use cases. And that's what we've been working on in these last several years. We've built 7 of these purpose-built databases, more than what you'll find anywhere else by a fair amount. And you need a cloud provider that gives you the flexibility to choose the right database for the right job. So I'll give you some examples. If you're a company like Lyft, and you have millions of geolocations and driver combinations, you don't want a relational database. You want a high-throughput, low-latency, key-value store like DynamoDB with libraries specifically built for geospatial data. Or if you're a company like Siemens Energy, and you're connecting all these different graphs of information for fleets of gas turbines across the globe that have relationships attached to them, you want a graph database like Neptune. But having the flexibility of these modern databases available isn't enough. You need to be able to migrate quickly and easily. Moving to a low-cost or more capable database doesn't have to be a difficult process. At AWS, we offer a few options for customers trying to migrate. For many migrations, the self-service path using the database migration service and schema conversion tool offers the tools necessary to execute a migration. For assistance in the migration process, there are also several migration partners that offer expertise as well. And there's the Database Freedom Program, which is the best option for customers looking to move away from the punitive licensing costs of commercial database vendors and avoiding the vendor lock-in. Database Freedom is a unique program designed to assist customers migrating to AWS database and analytics services by providing technical advice, migration support, and financial assistance. Once you've migrated to modern data infrastructure, you can begin liberating your data. Across the board, I see organizations looking to use their data to make better decisions quickly as changes occur. And to achieve this agility, you need to integrate vast amounts of data that were previously siloed in order to get a complete view of their customers and business operations. To liberate your data and gain faster insights across a diverse set of information, many companies like BMW Group and Experian are migrating all their data from various silos into a single location, often called a data lake. Centralizing all your data is key to unlocking its value using advanced capabilities like analytics and machine learning. With the data lake, you can provide controlled data access to the data scientists, developers, and business analysts in your organization. They can then access the data lake using their choice of analytic and machine learning tools and immediately start creating value for your business. So how do you build a data lake? It all starts with Amazon S3. Amazon S3 is the best place to build a data lake because it has unmatched flexibility, durability, availability, and scalability. It is built to store and retrieve any amount of data with unmatched availability and built from the ground up to deliver 11 nines of durability. However, S3 is just one piece of a modern data lake architecture. Our customers are using purpose-built analytics services on top of their data lake in S3 to solve various big data use cases. If you want to do ad hoc query on data directly in your S3 data lake using standard SQL, you can use Athena. If you want to process vast amounts of unstructured data across dynamically scalable clusters using popular distributed frameworks like Spark, Hadoop, and Presto, you can use EMR. EMR also runs directly against the data stored in your S3 data lake, so you don't need to move or transform your data. And if you want to quickly search and analyze large amounts of log data to monitor the health of your production systems and troubleshoot problems, you can use Elasticsearch Service. If you want to do real-time processing of streaming data, you can use Kinesis. And if you have structured data where you want super fast querying results, you want something like a data warehouse. And we have Redshift, which was the first data warehouse built for the cloud and really disrupted the economics of data warehousing. Redshift is the only cloud data warehouse that lets you run queries at exabyte scale against your data lake and at petabyte scale in your cluster. Redshift also enables querying of operational data stores such as Amazon Aurora. Redshift provides fast performance at any scale, delivering up to 3 times better price performance than other cloud data warehouses. Now, we recently launched several features for Redshift, including Aqua, a new hardware-accelerated cache that uses purpose-built processors to deliver up to 10 times better performance than any other data warehouse solution. And now, let's hear from one of our customers to learn how AWS is helping them derive greater value from their most valuable resource, data.
皆さんこんにちは。中外製薬株式会社でデジタル IT 統括部門長をしております司西と申します。私本日は中外製薬の DX 基本方針と CSI の概要というテーマでお話をさせていただきます。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。まず私の自己紹介でございますけれども、実は私は中外製薬に入社いたしましたのは一昨年2019年の5月でございます。 それまでは大学卒業以来、日本 IBM で勤めてまいりました。IBM では官公庁様を担当する営業部門、あるいはソフトウェア事業、セキュリティ事業の責任者をしてまいりました。当社中外製薬の概要でございますけれども、中外製薬はがん、バイオといった領域に強みを持つ研究開発型製薬企業でございます。医療用の医薬品メーカーとしては日本でトップクラスでございまして、特徴といたしましては独自の創薬技術力ということで、国産初の抗体医薬を創生いたしております。また抗体あるいは中分子といった分野で世界最先端の技術力を持っております。ビジネスモデルでございますけれども、ロッシュが株式の 60% 近くを保有しておりますが、自主的な経営を実行し、中外が開発した医薬品をロッシュのグローバルな販売網で販売、あるいはロッシュの創生した医薬品を中外が国内で販売というウィンウィンのビジネスモデルでございます。私どもは全社に挙げてのデジタル戦略を推進するということで、昨年ですね、中外デジタルビジョン2030というビジョンを掲げました。デジタル技術によって中外製薬のビジネスを革新し、社会を変えるヘルスケアソリューションを提供するトップイノベーターになる、これがビジョンです。私どもが革新的な医薬品を創出し、あるいはすべてのバリューチェーンの大幅な効率化を実現することによって革新的なサービスを提供し、その土台となる社員の意識、組織風土といったものを醸成する、これによりまして個別化医療、私が目指す個別化医療の増進であるとか、あるいは患者さんに対する高い QOL の実現、そして医療費の削減を含めた社会保障制度の持続可能な実現というものを目指しております。少し細かくなりますけれども、その中の3つの戦略として、1つは左側の青いところにありますデジタルを活用した革新的な新薬の創出、これには AI を活用した創薬であるとか、リアルワールドデータ、リアルワールドエビデンスと呼ばれる実臨床における患者さんのさまざまなデータ、電子カルテのデータであるとか、あるいはレジストリー、こういったものを開発モデルの革新に活用する。それから患者さんのアウトカムを可視化するためにウェアラブルデバイスやアプリケーションを使ったデジタルバイオマーカーの開発、こういった分野を行っております。バリューチェーンに関しましては臨床開発、いわゆる治験のデジタル化、あるいは工場におけるスマートプラントの取り組み、それから営業本部を中心とした顧客インターフェースの改革、デジタルマーケティングの取り組みを行っています。これらの戦略を行う上で重要なのがやはりデジタル基盤の強化ということで、さまざまなアイディエーションの機会の提供であるとか、人材育成あるいは共同といったものも行っておりますけれども、一番下にありますやはり IT 基盤ですね。この全社の DX を支える IT 基盤といったものが非常に重要になってまいります。こういった中でさまざまなデータを活用し、インサイトを活用することによって革新的なサービスの提供といったところに結びつけたいと考えております。その DX 推進にあたるそのデータ活用にあたっての課題ということでございますけれども、私どもが活用すると想定されるデータといたしましては左にありますけれども、病理画像であったり人のゲノムのデータ、あるいは電子カルテや検診、先ほど申し上げたウェアラブルデバイスからのデータ、こういったものが想定されるんですけれども、これらのデータの特徴といたしましてはやはり非常に膨大なデータであるということ、それからゲノムもそうですけども人由来ということで非常に取り扱いに注意しなければいけないデータであるということ、そしてこれらのデータが社内だけではなくて社外とのやり取りといったものが発生するというのが特徴になっております。ということはやはりいかにデータを安全に利用する、移動する、そして保管するといった仕組みが非常に重要だと考えます。そうしたことを考慮して、中外サイエンティフィックインフラストラクチャーという、研究基盤の、クラウド基盤といったものを構築いたしました。ここに AWS の技術を採用させていただいております。 左側にありますように社内のネットワークを通じて研究者や社内のいろいろなメンバーが、クロス横断的にですねパースあるいはイヤースの環境を作って使っていく、個別に、必要なデータを取り出してそこで解析を行うといった基盤、それから右にありますようにジョイントプロジェクト、これは外部とのいろいろなコミュニティとの共同研究といったものにも活用するということで、こちらの方はやはりセキュリティといったものを非常に重視しまして、多要素認証であるとかそういった技術を駆使すると同時にいろいろなその不正アクセスを防止するような SOC のサービスなども運用の中で実現しております。こうしたことによりまして実現できたこととしては、やはり社内データの部門横断的な利用の促進、それからアカデミーや病院などと共同プロジェクトということを迅速に行うことができるようになりました。また作業にあたってはその自動化共有化あるいはそういったものを実現することによって環境のですね構築のコストとそれからスピードアップ、こういったものを実現できました。それからゲノムデータなどの扱いに対してのそのセキュリティが要求されるデータの取り扱い、それから情報流出や外部攻撃等のリスク、こういったものを低減することも実現できています。それを支えるテクノロジーということでここにありますけど、まずはその Amazon ウェブサービス AWS のプラットフォーム、それからAnsibleであるとか GitHub といったようなツール類ですね、こういったものを駆使することによって、環境構築をスムーズにそして効率よく行っていくということができております。私どもはその CSI に AWS を採用したポイントということでお話をしたいと思います。最大の理由はですね、やはりその他のクラウドに比べてそのログが非常にきめ細かく深いレベルまで取れるというのが大きな魅力でした。またコストも使うにあたってもある一定の水準にキープできるということ、それからやはりエンジニアのコミュニティの活性化というのは非常に高くてですね、情報が広く公開されている、こういったところが採用のポイントになったと思います。それから採用のメリットということではやはりエンジニアの数が豊富であることに加えて、非常に技術革新のスピードが速い、あるいは私どものカウンターパートのベンチャー企業さんやパートナーさんが皆さんですね AWS を使っていることが多くて、その親和性もあります。最終的にはやはり IT リソースの調達期間を6ヶ月から1週間、導入コストを 90% 以上削減できたというのはこれは非常に大きかったと思います。今は2つのユースケースということで丸1にあるような、医療機関であるとかデータ取扱事業者の方から、スムーズにセキュアにデータを、提供いただけるというようなことと、活用事例の2といたしましては共同研究の、場をこの CSI で実現して、他の方たちにも入っていただきながら共同開発をするというようなことができるようになっています。今後検討していることでございますけれども、この CSI の海外展開、それからもっとアプリケーションとしての創薬研究や臨床開発への応用、また、実際には実存するさまざまな、既存システム、レガシーシステム、こういったものと融合吸収、こういったものをどこまでできるかということ、最終的には今はなかなかその自主開発というふうには至ってないんですけども、資格制度を活用しながら人材育成を行って、内製化へのチャレンジといったことも行っていきたいと思います。私の方からは以上でございます。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
Once you have migrated your data to a modern infrastructure and you have broken down data silos, you've set yourself up for our third step in the path to becoming data-driven, innovating with machine learning. You can apply machine learning to help solve your most pressing business challenges and create new opportunities. This is really where the magic happens. In fact, we have many customers who start by asking for ML or AI. We end up needing to work backwards, first forming a data strategy. We see a world where ML is built into every function of your business. Now, I feel confident in saying machine learning is the most impactful technology of our lifetime, and organizations cannot survive without it. Machine learning should be adding intelligence to every part of your organization. More than 100,000 customers use AWS for machine learning today, from creating a more personalized customer experience to developing personalized pharmaceuticals. These tools are no longer a niche investment. Our customers are applying machine learning to the core of their business. Let's take a look at some examples. Domino's Pizza uses machine learning for predictive ordering to help meet its goal of delivering hot, fresh pizzas in 10 minutes or less following an order. Roche, the second largest pharmaceutical company in the world, uses Amazon SageMaker to accelerate the delivery of treatments and tailor medical experiences. The NFL uses machine learning as part of its player health and safety initiative. With the right data foundation in place, our customers are innovating in their space and creating competitive advantage by doing this. Our customers choose to run their machine learning workloads on AWS because of our flexibility, depth, and breadth of services, and rapid pace of innovation. Let's take a look. At AWS, we think of machine learning like a stack, where each layer builds on the one below it. As you go up the stack, we work to decrease complexity and make machine learning easier to use and integrate with your applications. At the bottom layer of the ML stack, we provide capabilities for expert machine learning practitioners, including optimized versions of the most popular deep learning frameworks, including PyTorch, MXNet, and TensorFlow. And AWS provides the broadest and deepest portfolio of ML infrastructure services, with the choice of processors and accelerators to meet your unique performance and budget needs, as Peter mentioned earlier. At the middle layer, we have Amazon SageMaker, which allows developers and data scientists to build, train, and deploy machine learning models at scale. SageMaker includes a broad set of capabilities, many of which are both novel and unique to AWS. And these services are available through an integrated development environment for machine learning, which we call SageMaker Studio. By standardizing on SageMaker, you can remove the complexity from each step of the machine learning workflow so that it's faster, more cost-effective, and easier to do. We have customers from virtually every industry using SageMaker, including financial services, healthcare, media, sports, retail, automotive, and manufacturing. Customers are seeing significant results from standardizing their ML workloads on SageMaker. For instance, Lyft's autonomous vehicle division, Level 5, reduced model training time from days to hours. Vanguard deploys workloads up to 20 times faster. And ADP reduced time to deploy machine learning models from 2 weeks to just 1 day. As you can see, we built new tools across the entirety of the machine learning workflow to help develop and manage ML models at scale. And at the top layer are our AI services, which are helping customers adopt ML without having to build their own ML models from scratch. With the right data in place, using our AI services, you can be up and running with AI-driven solutions in minutes, with no ML experience required. We've applied Amazon's more than 20 years of experience in machine learning to deliver services such as Amazon Personalize for personalized recommendations and Amazon Forecast to automatically create custom demand forecasts. We're using machine learning to solve real business challenges for our customers. Amazon Kendra is one example. It's an end-to-end intelligent search solution which can connect to multiple data sources and uses ML to create an accurate index which can be searched with natural language queries. Again, no ML experience required. Customers can build and customize their index and search interface without writing a line of code. Amazon Code Guru allows developers to use machine learning to provide automatic code review, providing guidance and recommendations on how to fix some truly hard-to-find bugs. And we just launched DevOps Guru to easily improve an application's operational performance and availability. And at reInvent 2020, we launched the preview of Amazon Lookout for Metrics, which uses machine learning to detect anomalies in virtually any time series data. With Kendra, we built a service that helps you search through unstructured data. But sometimes you have structured business data you need to search through. And that's why we built Amazon QuickSight Q. With QuickSight Q, you simply type words in the Q search bar using natural language. And Q uses sophisticated deep learning, natural language processing, schema understanding, and semantic parsing to simplify your search. Another example is Amazon Connect, our contact center in the cloud. Contact center agents are on the front line of your customer service. But as you've probably noticed, today's legacy contact center solutions have a bunch of problems that get in the way of delivering excellent customer experiences. Amazon Connect is based on the same technology used by Amazon for 10 years. You can set up, configure your contact center in minutes, and it's easy to configure. There's no infrastructure to deploy or manage, and it scales up and down based on your usage. You can save up to 80% over traditional contact center solutions. Connect is the first contact center built from the ground up with the cloud and machine learning, where we provide automatic voice transcription, sentiment analysis, and analytics using ML. As you can see, we've completely reimagined call centers. And many of these horizontal application spaces are ripe for change. By having a flexible platform with the broadest and deepest set of tools, you can quickly take advantage of these opportunities. How about vertical business segments? Ask yourself, which of these have the potential for huge transformation? And the answer is all of them. Let's look at a few examples. One area where we're seeing a lot of reinvention happening is in industrial manufacturing, where they're using data in the cloud and in nodes at the edge to rethink how their design processes on the production line from supply chain to finished product. We've launched 5 new capabilities designed to help customers in industrial manufacturing to improve their process from start to finish. Another industry with a lot of valuable data that is working to reinvent itself is healthcare. Healthcare data is often spread out across various systems, such as electronic medical records, lab systems, and exists in dozens of incompatible formats, making it hard to gain insights. To help with this, we launched Amazon Health Lake, which transforms data automatically, extracting meaningful medical information from raw, disparate data. Health Lake organizes data in chronological order so that you can look at trends like disease progression over time, giving healthcare organizations new tools to improve care and intervene earlier. While machine learning is getting considerably easier through our services, it can still be a complex process. So we also offer several ways to help you get started. To help you identify a use case and bring it to proof of concept, we have the Amazon ML Solutions Lab. It combines hands-on educational workshops with brainstorming sessions to help you work backwards from business challenges and then we take you step by step through the process of developing machine learning-based solutions to those challenges. Where customers want greater involvement, we have a large professional services organization and a deep bench of ML competency partners who work closely with you to deliver total solutions. More machine learning happens on AWS than anywhere else. Let's hear from one of our customers about how AWS is making machine learning easier than ever and helping them to transform their business.
皆さんこんにちは。スタジオウシアのチーフサイエンティストの山田です。スタジオウシアは言葉を理解する AI の開発を行っているスタートアップです。近年、ディープラーニングの発展に伴って AI が人と同様に言葉を理解する能力を獲得しつつあります。弊社では2007年からこうした領域に注目し、世界最先端の研究開発を推進してきました。では、AI が言葉を理解するとどのようなことができるようになるでしょうか。その答えの一つが、コンピューターが人間の任意の質問に回答する質問応答です。コンピューターがテキストを読み、理解し、知識を蓄積することで、Wikipedia のような大規模なデータベースや、社内に蓄積されてきた膨大な情報を学習して、どんな質問に対しても AI がすぐに回答するシステムを作成することができます。こうした話をすると、未来の話をしているように聞こえるかもしれませんが、これらは実際に弊社に今ある技術で簡単に実現することができます。ここで弊社の最新の質問応答 AI である漱石のデモンストレーションをお見せしたいと思います。このデモンストレーションでは Wikipedia に記述されている知識を学習した弊社の AI がどんな質問に対しても即座に回答を行います。例えば、ダース・ベイダーのマスクの下にいるのは誰かと聞いてみましょう。そうすると、アナキン・スカイウォーカーと正しく回答します。次にもう少し難しい質問を試してみましょう。では、ドラゴンボール Z には何個のエピソードがあるかと聞いてみると、Wikipedia の該当する記述を抜き出して291個と答えます。このデモンストレーションは demo.漱石.ai で公開されています。ぜひアクセスして最新の AI の性能を体感してみてください。さて、AI が言葉を正確に処理するためには、ベースとなる言語モデルの性能が非常に重要です。昨年弊社が発表した言語モデル Luke は、既存のモデルと比べて Wikipedia に記述されている情報をより細かくかつ深く学習するモデルです。このモデルは複数の重要なベンチマークにおいて Google や Facebook が提案したモデルの性能を抜いて世界最高性能を獲得しました。また昨年弊社は世界最大の人工知能に関する国際会議 NewLips の中で開催されたエフィシエント QA コンペティションに参加しました。このコンペティションは Google の研究者らが主催したコンペティションでGoogle で実際に検索されたクエリに対してシステムが正解できるかどうかによって評価が行われました。漱石はこのコンペティションで Google に過去に投稿された半数以上の質問に正しく回答しました。質問としては、例えばデモの際に紹介したドラゴンボール Z の全エピソード数はとか、もうちょっとトンチが入っていてインスタグラムで最もフォロワー数が多いのはインスタグラムといった質問が出題されました。弊社はこのコンペティションで使用できる計算資源が制約されたトラックで Facebook に次いで2位、無制約のトラックで Microsoft、Facebook に次いで3位を獲得しました。特に無制約トラックは世界的な研究機関が多く参戦する激戦となりました。こうしたシステムの開発においては保有する計算資源の量が大きく性能に影響すると言われています。弊社のような小さいスタートアップが世界最先端の開発を行うためには AWS のような必要な時に必要な分だけ使える計算資源の活用が非常に重要な課題となってきます。ここまで説明してきた技術を用いて 弊社では2つの高性能な質問応答の製品を提供しています。まず QA エンジンは少量の訓練データと回答リストを用意すれば、ウェブ上で非常に簡単に高精度な質問応答の AI を作ることができるサービスです。次に漱石は本年にリリースした新しい製品です。この製品は弊社で独自に開発をした高性能な訓練済みのモデルを用いて、訓練データなしで社内文章や FAQ を用意するだけで質問応答をする AI を即座に作成することができます。これらの製品は各業界のフロントランナー企業に導入いただいています。これまで紹介した弊社の研究開発および製品開発を支えているのが AWS です。弊社では幅広い AWS サービスを適材適所で活用し、開発を効率的に推進しています。AWS を活用することで、弊社の強みである AI の開発により集中して取り組むことが可能になっています。まず、研究開発における AWS の活用について紹介します。AI のモデルを開発する上で最も重要なのが良いデータを用意することです。弊社では Web から収集した大規模なデータや弊社のプロダクトから得られた膨大なデータを規模に応じて Redshift S3RDS に格納しています。またこれらのデータに大規模な前処理を適用する場合には EMR 等を活用しています。また AI の訓練には政治メーカーや EC2 のスポットインスタンスを用いることで、必要な際に必要な規模の計算資源を確保しています。また訓練したモデルはコンテナ化し ECR を用いて共有することで、製品への即座に反映することを行っています。製品開発においても幅広く AWS を活用しています。先ほどご紹介した弊社の製品である QA エンジンはAmazon 政治メーカーを使って提供されています。実は QA エンジンは当初政治メーカーを使わずに開発されていましたが、政治メーカーを活用した結果 40% に相当するコードが削減され、コードのメンテナンス性が大幅に改善したという経緯があります。また弊社に送信されてくる膨大なクエリーの管理や集計には Amazon Redshift を活用しています。また Web サービスの開発には AWS Elastic Beanstalk、AWS ラムダなどのサービスを活用しており、迅速な開発とスケーラブルなサービス提供を実現しています。最後になりますが、弊社ではこれからも高性能な質問応答技術の研究開発と、企業の皆様が先端技術を簡単に使えるようにするための製品開発に引き続き取り組んでまいります。ありがとうございました。
So to recap, you have a significant opportunity to become a data-driven organization. We've shown today how critical it is that you migrate to a modern data infrastructure with flexible, purpose-built data stores. And that liberating your data with Data Lake will enable you to make the most of your information. And lastly, unlocking the power of your data using AI and machine learning. However, some customers are still sorting out how they can bring the flexibility of the AWS cloud to their business. Peter, can you come back on stage and share some of your thoughts on hybrid?
Thank you, Dorothy. That's a lot of flexibility. We've talked about a lot of flexibility today, and having the flexibility to choose the right service across compute and data is so important to running your workloads in the cloud. But equally important is having the flexibility of where to run your workloads. Some people talk about this as hybrid cloud. We think of this as enabling customers to have the flexibility to run their workloads wherever they need. For example, we make it easy to run the software you use on your on-premise infrastructure in the cloud. If you're using virtualization in your data center, it's likely you're running on VMware. And by integrating VMware with our i3 bare metal EC2 instances powered by Nitro, we were able to enable customers to run the full VMware software-defined data center stack, including the ESXi hypervisor, directly on AWS managed infrastructure. This is actually another great example of how Nitro has enabled us to innovate fast and deliver flexible solutions that simply weren't possible before. With VMware Cloud on AWS, you can extend your on-premises infrastructure into the cloud while using the same skills, processes, and governance you do to manage your on-premise infrastructure. But flexibility works the other way as well. Some of our customers want to take advantage of AWS services, but still use their on-premises computing capacity. For example, what if you've containerized your applications and want to run ECS or EKS containers on the servers you already have in your data center? That's why we developed Amazon ECS Anywhere and Amazon EKS Anywhere. ECS and EKS Anywhere let you run the containers in the cloud and on your on-premises infrastructure with the same APIs and cluster management features. But flexibility is more than just extending your applications from on-premises into the cloud and vice versa. It's about running your application anywhere in the world. Here's a map of the AWS global infrastructure. Each of these little dots is actually a big AWS region. There are currently 25 AWS regions, as well as another 5 that we have announced coming in the near future. And each of these regions is made up of multiple independent availability zones. In total, we have 80 availability zones across our AWS global infrastructure. This global infrastructure gives you the flexibility to run your applications all over the world. But as we have talked to customers, we have found that customers will benefit from even more flexibility. So, of course, we looked into ways to help. Let's look at some of the ways that we can help you run your workloads in even more places. AWS local zones are a new type of AWS infrastructure that places compute, storage, databases, and other AWS services close to population centers. With local zones, you can run your latency-sensitive applications close to your end users. Local zones provide single-digit millisecond latency for use cases such as media and entertainment, content creation, real-time gaming, and machine learning workloads that need low latency. We launched our first local zone in Los Angeles in 2019, and we've recently added local zones in Boston, Houston, and Miami. We'll be launching 12 additional local zones this year. With local zones, we've given customers another way to run workloads closer to their customers, but still use the same familiar AWS services, APIs, and tools. But what if you need AWS infrastructure somewhere that we don't yet have a region or a local zone, or even closer to your existing infrastructure? That's why we built AWS Outpost, which effectively give you the flexibility to run AWS infrastructure and services anywhere that you can install a rack. Outposts are racks of AWS servers with AWS compute, storage, database, analytics services running on them. With an Outpost, we took all of the know-how of 15 years of operating infrastructure at scale, along with our innovative Nitro platform, and brought them all to your data center. We deliver it, we install it, we do all the maintenance, including firmware patching, operational and security upgrades. With AWS Outposts, you get the same APIs, the same control plane, the same tools, and the same hardware that you get in the public cloud. And while Outpost gives you the flexibility to run almost anywhere, what if you want to use Outpost in a smaller space, like a branch office, where you only need maybe 1 or 2 servers? At reInvent, we announced smaller AWS Outposts in a 1U and a 2U form factor. And for those of you that don't speak U, a 1U server is basically the size of a pizza box. So these are small rack-mountable servers that will provide local compute and networking services to edge locations that have limited space or smaller capacity requirements. You can think of things like retail stores, branch offices, healthcare providers, factory floors. But we aren't done yet. People are very excited about 5G. 5G can enable you to build low latency applications without managing any local infrastructure. But any application that wants to do anything interesting is going to need compute and storage. And typically, that's on AWS. For mobile applications to leverage that infrastructure, they have to go from the device to the mobile network, to the local aggregation site, to the regional aggregation site, to the internet, to AWS, and back. And that's not low latency. That's dozens to hundreds of milliseconds. Not nearly fast enough to run the sorts of applications that people are envisioning with 5Gs. Things like connected vehicles, smart factories, gaming, immersive AR, VR experiences. So customers wanted us to help them find a way to change that. And that's why we launched AWS Wavelength, which extends AWS to the 5G edge carriers so that you only have to go from the device to the metro 5G aggregation site to access local AWS infrastructure. That means you get the same developer experience, tooling, and AWS services at the 5G edge to build your low latency applications and services. Wavelength is available in 10 cities across the US with Verizon. It's also available in Tokyo and Osaka, Japan with KDDI, and in South Korea with SK Telecom. Wavelength is great for apps with amazing connectivity. But what if you need to operate in locations with limited or no connectivity? Increasingly, there are more and more applications that run in vehicles or drones or ships that need something portable, ruggedized, and able to operate with minimal connectivity. This is why we built our Snow family of devices. This family of devices includes Snowball Edge and Snowcone, which are different sized hardware applications that you can bring to the disconnected edge. These devices help you physically transport exabytes of data into and out of the AWS cloud. And they have built-in compute, so you can do some analytics and processing at the edge. They're ideal for local data collection and processing in remote places, from bases and ships to first responder vehicles to even mobile media teams working on foot. And if at any point you want to detach that appliance and send it back to us, we'll ingest the data so you can do large-scale analytics with the services that Dorothy talked about earlier today. We continue to think that in the fullness of time, the vast majority of computing will end up in the cloud. The cost, agility, and functionality advantages are just too great. But we also understand that location matters. Whether that location is your existing data center with your legacy applications, or wherever you need to be to best serve your customers. AWS is going to continue to focus on giving you the flexibility to run your applications wherever makes the most sense. That's our vision for flexible hybrid solutions. Today we talked about our tenet of flexibility and how this pushed our teams to create a platform that lets builders build the way they want. The result of this is the broadest and deepest set of services and functionality that can help your organization move faster than it otherwise could. During this summit, you'll have the opportunity to attend sessions on many of the services we discussed briefly here today, as well as sessions on topics we did not have a chance to cover. Please take advantage of as many of these as you can. I want to thank you for joining us and hope you enjoy the rest of the summit.